Hello, this is John Burroughs again. I'm going to be doing podcast number 18, and this is called Who Am I and Who Are These Effing People? As usual, I like to begin with some personal examples of my own life and how it ties into this. And the reason I titled it this way is Who Am I? Each day I'm a different person because we get so much different information, and we're finding out more and more about people warning government officials that it was worse, the virus was worse than originally thought of, all those type of things. But I'll give you an example. I mean, when I went to work for a company that in order to make a decent living, it was telephone sales. And actually, in order to make a decent living, you had to work your butt off. And if you were going to be successful at it, in my view anyway, you had to, like I've always been, work your butt off and care about who your customers were going to be and build a relationship with those customers so it remains long term. However, when I started this job, you have to realize that the minimal pay was $20,000 a year, which is really nothing. And how you got paid was you would either get that $20,000 a year or your commissions, whichever greater, and that would be broken down monthly. Well, I started out in this particular industry. I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of the industry, but in order to be successful, you have to build a book of business in order to build up your commissions. And the way you do that is to earn trust of the people out there. And when I started out in this particular industry, we were in the middle of the housing boom. So I decided to concentrate a lot of my efforts on the building supply industry. It was business-to-business sales. And it took me about a year, but and this is in southern Arizona, but it took me about a year to build up a business where I was finally making anywhere from $3,800 a month to $5,500 a month, and it looked like I could reach a ceiling of maybe $7,000 or $8,000. Well, then 2008 came along, and the whole financial recession happened, and I probably made a mistake in concentrating too much on the building supply industry, but I rapidly lost, not through the fault of my customers, but just through the fault of the economy in general, that type of salary, and it really broke my heart, and also kind of made me somewhat bitter. I think at the time, President Obama was a good man, but and probably a good father and husband, but I really resented the way he handled the economy. So when the time came along, I voted for Trump, and Trump did bring the economy back, and did all those things that made the economy healthy, and people who could afford to invest in the economy were starting to make money. But when the virus came along, we started learning more and more about the type of people we have in government. And I've been over this in other podcasts, but Trump's not a doctor, yet he'll step in front of the doctors and disagree with what they're saying, and these people know exactly what is happening. And it's just so sad to see. And then, as most of you know, I've mentioned I've had an anger management problem, and lately I've been trying to control it. And I'm going to be all over the place in this podcast, but really, what was on the mind of 3M? I mean, they took millions of masks and sent them to Europe before they ever sent them to us. And yeah, I read an article the other day. I think they gave us or sold us 1.3 million of the N9 masks. Why did they do this? They got caught. The dirty little effers got caught. And quite frankly, what they did, if you consider that we are at war against the virus, that was an act of sedition. And when this is all over, they should be held totally accountable. So when I say, who am I? Yeah, I'm confused when I see a major company like that, all American company, not even care. They just sent it where I guess they thought they'd make the most money. I'm not sure if they thought that those people had the most need, but we have found out that the United States has the most cases now. And so that just got me to the point where I got sick of listening to the same old thing on the Trump briefings and listening to him spew his bullcrap. Don't get me wrong, he's done good things, but he's shown his true colors now. Then let's look at the governors of the, is there 7 or 8 states that still hasn't bought into social distancing? Are these people maniacs? We see that social distancing is working. It's saving lives. By not buying into it, by certain degrees of separation, you're killing people. You're killing mothers, fathers, children, grandfathers, grandmothers. You're killing people. Get your state in order and get social distancing in order. I'm sorry about my lisp. It's my parcels. But get it in order and start having compassion for your fellow human beings. And when this is all over, we got to start thinking about how do we prepare for the next one, because there will be a next one if we get out of this one alive. But like I said, I don't want to make this too long because I'll get too angry and I'll say things I probably regret. But there are people now that are going into job sharing. There are people now that are losing their jobs. There are so many things going on that had we reacted in a timely manner, when we did have information, there's all sorts of proof coming out now in all sorts of different articles that we didn't take the information we had seriously enough and we didn't react quickly enough. So in the end, that by certain degrees of separation, you killed people. Okay, the administration killed people by downplaying the seriousness of the environment. We hear these heartbreaking stories every day because people were so selfish and didn't want to do the things that were right. So now we're confronted with some optimism. I read an article by not an article by him, but about him, Dr. Fauci today, and it had a picture of him for the first time I've ever seen him with a wide smile, saying that he can see a flattening happening in New York, and he's not one, like he said, I'm not one that gets overly optimistic, but this is looking good, but we're far from winning the war. And that does look good, but when it's all over, we have a country to run, and we've seen these people out there that just didn't give a damn. We've seen people withdraw their money with inside information after going to coronavirus briefings. We've seen all of these things. So in my case, I heard something interesting the other day. I've always been a little right of moderate. I believe in in doing the right thing for as many people as we can when it makes sense. And right now, I look over at the Democratic side, and uh, I feel empathy for Joe Biden because I'm 70 years old. He's older than me, and I can see his cognitive abilities decreasing every time he's on the TV. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure he remembered what he said 30 seconds ago or what room he said it in. So he's not going to be someone we want for president. But I read an interesting article, and don't get me wrong, like I said, Trump did three things I liked. He did things for the economy, he did things for the military, and he tried to do things in protecting our borders. But a wall to me wasn't the answer. Not when we have technology like we have today with drones and other things. But um, I can't, in good conscience, vote for the man again. Um, I'm looking for someone to rise from the ashes here because he goes on, he says something, then the experts contradict him, and he turns around and contradicts the experts, and his ego has gotten in the way of his logic. So I read an interesting thing that it's only a rumor that Mark Cuban was thinking of making a presidential run in 2020, and yeah, that really interested me. One of my friends says, "Oh, it's way too late. It's way too late." Well, the virus has taught me that nothing is way too late. And one of the things that I was happy about hearing Cubans entertaining this idea is if any of you watch Shark Tank, and I watch it closely, most of those people were self-made multi-millionaires, and of course, there's a couple of billionaires on the on the panel, of which Cuban is one of them. But when you listen to him talk to people about companies and stuff, he always has the human element in mind. And though he's not going to invest, he gives them advice as to why he isn't going to invest. So to me, he shows a real empathy and love for his country. Um, and he also knows business, and he also doesn't take crap. So he's going to defend our country uh, the best he can if he were to run for this type of thing. I don't know if he would, but he also owns a professional basketball team. So he's seen people from all walks of life, from the ghettos to the rich white kids to all around the world, the international players and everything like that. And typically, a person that is into professional sports and is also, by the way, a self made billionaire. I remember seeing his profile on Shark Tank and how interesting it was to see him with the long hair and stuff like that. But when you look at him, there seems behind his eyes a truth to what he's saying. I just don't know what to believe anymore, but I know what not to believe. And I really don't trust Donald Trump the way I used to. And I certainly don't want Joe Biden running the country. So if Mark Cuban is going to be the hero that rises from the ashes, so be it. Anyway, look, I'm going to say it one more time. Social distancing is working. Dr. Fauci knows what the hell he's talking about, along with his colleagues that have been getting constant data and they've been analyzing this data. They know what the hell they're talking about. So as far as the virus goes, please listen to them. Don't listen to Trump try to override them or ignore what they're saying because he so desperately wants the economy to get back on track, and it is getting back on track. Um, and his ratings are rising. I can only assume that's That's from those right-wingers that are just as radical as the progressives on the other side. We need a guy that's down the middle or a little to right who will protect our country, bring manufacturing back into this country, keep the economy strong, protect our borders, and give our military the strength they need to protect us as a country, and most likely and most importantly, prepare. Never again should we be caught asleep at the wheel. There's going to be other epidemics, there's going to be other pandemics, there's going to be other catastrophic threats to us. So having said that, I am completely dismayed at what I've seen some of the people do, their lack of logic and their total stupidity in not listening to the experts. And at the same time, I have never been more proud of the first responders in this country, especially the people right on the front lines that are treating people that are stricken with this, knowing that their own lives are at risk and therefore their families are at risk. Look, America was a great social experiment and we made it work, but over the years it got polluted with professional politicians rather than patriots. Anyway, I hope this mumble jumble that I just spewed out at you, I hope you can pick it apart and get kind of the thrust of what I'm saying, so you understand why I'm lost and why I can't understand, like the people at 3M or the governors that refuse to do the social distancing rules. And now I'm seeing churches keeping their doors open for those to worship. You can worship anywhere you want, okay? I went to, I don't know, 10 years of parochial school. You don't have to have a church to worship. In fact, they have ceremonies on TV that you can actually worship. You can worship any way you want. But for now, those people that are not fighting the good fight, smarten up, listen to the people that know what the hell they're talking about, because you don't. If you're a governor and you haven't enforced or started the social distancing, then you don't know what you're talking about. If you're someone in 3M that got caught in doing the things that you did with the mask, you're not the businessman you thought with. In fact, that's like two best friends, and then for 10 years, and then 10 years later, the friend finds out that his girlfriend has been cheating with his best friend. Do you think his best friend will remain that way? No. And that's what I think of you, 3M. I hope to God someone opens up a company and takes advantage of the ridiculous mistake you made. John Burroughs, signing off. Keep your hopes up. Keep social distancing going. I know everyone's singing this charade, and thank God for the people on the front lines fighting it. See you later.